Hi everyone and welcome to the Unpolished Mom, your weekly podcast on all things parenthood, culture and real life struggles. My name is Ola and I'm really excited you've decided to listen to me. So let's begin. Guys, this feels a bit unreal. This is the first episode of my own podcast. Can you believe it? So please forgive any shrieks of excitement during this episode, but I just can't contain myself. Anyways, I hope you enjoy it. As I said in the intro to my podcast, I'm going to be talking about parenthood, culture, languages, and real life struggles. I'll also be doing interviews with other moms or parents, we'll see. So that should be interesting. And the idea for this first episode came to me in a playground, actually. So, with no further ado, let's start. So today's episode is 10 Commandments of Raising Boys. The first one is, you shall encourage all emotions. So as I said at the beginning, this episode was inspired by a situation that I witnessed in a playground with my son. My son is 3 and it's a difficult age. Also, side note, I hate when people say it's a difficult age. Any age is difficult and any age is easy. It just depends where you are. These are all phases and stages. They all pass and then new phases come. So anyways, I witnessed a situation by a slide in which a dad to a boy quite younger than Leon, so about 2 perhaps, was trying to encourage his son to go down the slide while the boy was really reluctant to. So he was saying, "Daddy, I don't want to, I'm scared, it's too high." And the dad was saying things like, "Oh, don't cry, you're not a girl, grow some balls." He didn't actually say that, but as if he was about to. And this made me think that we really, our society doesn't really let boys express their emotions. And that's sad. It's kind of as if we were expecting even young boys to already be men. And I don't think that's okay. I think that's the first sort of reason, the first cause of them later on being adults who cannot deal with emotions, cannot talk about emotions, and hence all the unhealthy relationships and frustrated women who say, "Oh, you never say you love me," or men. Sorry, I didn't mean to exclude non-heterosexual relationships. But anyways, I think it's extremely important to accept all emotions. And as I've learned recently in a fantastic course that I did thanks to an Instagram account that I follow called Big Little Feelings, we should okay the emotions, but it doesn't mean accepting the behaviors, okay? So if a child is, say, naughty, okay, I hate the word, but let's say that. We should not let them be naughty, but we should accept the emotion. We should say, it's okay to be scared. It's okay to be angry, okay? And teach them how to deal with the emotions. So let's swiftly move on to number 2, which is, you shall not believe and maintain gender stereotypes. So I've come across a book called Parenting Beyond Pink and Blue. And I think the title is quite self-explanatory. We sort of put girls and boys into those blue and pink stereotypes. And what's interesting is that the blue and the pink before, I believe, 50s or 60s of the previous century were actually working the opposite way. So pink was reserved for boys. I think it was related to royalty. And blue was related to girls. So it is still really harmful to be thinking of boys as boys and girls as girls in that harmful, unfair way, I would say. So we think that boys are the ones who are less emotional, less willing to care for other people. They're just strong and they're better at physical jobs, while girls are more sensitive, more caring, and, you know, all the other things. We know how the stereotypes work. But I believe it's really harmful. Have you never met a boy who was caring? Have you never met a girl who was good at physical jobs? Like, I think we should stop. We should just stop talking about the stereotypes. Obviously, the change is a massive thing. The change, trying to change it, would be a massive thing, because it's also changing the mentality. It's what people think about gender roles as well. So it's a much deeper problem. But the first step is thinking how and what we can do when raising our kids, and especially boys, and not to sort of keep maintaining those stereotypes. So what else I wanted to add here is I wanted to mention a video that one of my friends posted recently. So there was a campaign in the USA that was supposed to show people that men can be men without the stereotypical label. And I think it's really important to be raising that awareness. I think it could really help beat those stereotypes. And let's move on to number 3. So my number 3 is you shall teach them respect, equality, and boundaries. And what do I mean by respect? Obviously, we know what respect is, but when it comes to boys, we assume lots of things. So we assume that being respectful is being polite. Well, I feel that it's a little bit more than that. I think we should talk to boys from very young age what's okay and what's not when it comes to talking to people, treating people. And it's not only about men treating women, but also treating other people, like older people, and generally people that they meet in their life. When it comes to equality, I've come across this article written by a feminist. So she was trying to summarize how she would raise a boy or boys again as a feminist, or some tips on how to raise boys as a feminist. And her sort of conclusions were very similar to mine. It's not about showing them that any gender, any sex is better than the other. It's about equality. And I think we can do lots of things at home to help them understand that from a very young age. And what's also important is boundaries. So there is a lot of talk about teaching kids that it's okay to say no to certain things, and it's okay to be assertive, but that's a little bit of a different thing. So again, there is a big talk about things like kids saying no when a relative wants to kiss them or hug them. So obviously the older generation used to get very upset or a bit sulky when the kid wouldn't kiss their auntie or a grandma. And I think we kind of associate it with girls a little bit more. But I think it's as important with boys. I teach my son that it's okay not to want to kiss me goodbye or good night or whatever. And then what happens is that he actually comes when he needs a cuddle or he needs a kiss. And I think that's much, much better. We can imagine what kind of consequences it can have in his grown-up life. He'll be able to take no as an answer. And that's what it is. But what I also wanted to add here is that it's important for the parents to show boundaries and keep their own boundaries as well. I have to admit, I'm a gentle parent. I really try to be very informed. I do a lot of research. I read books. And what I try to do is to follow his needs and follow his sort of developmental stages, leaps, and so on and so forth. And it's not easy, right? It's not easy. And what I sometimes forget to do is remember about my own boundaries. And I don't think there is a better way of showing kids the concept of boundaries than by showing them that we as parents also have boundaries. So when children are babies, so when they're babies, obviously it's very hard to show anything like that, and we are always going to be there to help them when they need something. However, as they get older, I think it should just happen naturally. We should show them that yes, we're there to help them, but not at the cost of our own needs not being met. So we know the classical mom can never wee on her own. Well, that still happens in my house, but I do try and tell my son, sorry, but I need to go to the toilet on my own. Can you please stay with daddy, or can you please play with something? Which doesn't always work, but yeah, it's about trying and showing what it means, what boundaries mean. Number four is you shall give good role models. So I've started talking about that within number 3, but there used to be another massive stereotype about how boys should have good male role models. Oh my God, there is no bigger nonsense in the world than that. Can you imagine a man being a successful husband or partner if they don't have a female role model? How will they know what's good, what's bad, how to read women's emotions, at least, or, if they've never seen it? I think it's really harmful to just think that a strong fatherly figure is all boys need. I think they need a mom as much as a dad, and what they need more of is to be exposed to natural flows of a relationship. So I would also not try to hide anger or being, annoyed with each other. We try not to argue in front of our son, but I think it's important for him to know that we're not always Mr. and Mrs. Perfect. That's being good role models. What is more is I think that boys, generally kids, should see that both men and women can be good at certain things that, again, are possibly perhaps not stereotypically associated with them. So these can be very simple. Dad can cook. Mom can drive more than dad. Okay? Really simple things. I know I'm talking stereotypes at the moment, but you know what I mean. It's about showing them that both genders can be as good at certain things that, the society has made us believe are reserved for women or men. Number 5, you shall not use the expression boys will be boys as an excuse. So that's a typical, very English expression. Just you could think if it exists in your own language. Not sure if it does in Polish, but let me know. I tend to forget certain expressions in Polish, to be honest. Anyways, what it means is that there is a tendency to accept certain boys' behaviors because we kind of are taught to think that boys are by nature a little bit more naughty, a little bit more mischievous. So, they can just be forgiven a little bit more. Well, I don't believe that's the case. Okay? I can't see I haven't even